Oh, you're like, alrighty. Welcome everybody to the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. It's Friday, March 21st, and we are here to walk through H278, an act relating to a plan on energy storage development with our ledge council, and we will try to get through this in 15 minutes so that we can get to the floor. I'm Representative Kathleen James from Manchester.
Scott Campbell from St. Johnsbury.
Richard Bailey, Lamar 2.
Chris Morrow, Lyndon Windsor, Bennington. Michael Southwood, Caledonia 2. Jennifer Howland, Rutland 4.
Mara Tory, Washington 2.
Graham Putner, Chittenden 13, Burlington.
Laura Civilian, Wyndham 2.
All right. Our committee assistant. We always have our assistants introduced now.
Hi, I'm Dan Griffin. Something for Jackson.
Thank you. And all right, for the record.
Ellen Tchaikovsky, Office of Legislative Counsel. I'm here on H278. So this is a report about a plan and a map. There's a little internal consistency in it. So when you begin your work on it, I'll point that out in a minute. But starting on page 1, this is adding a new section title to Title 30, 8017, Energy Resiliency Plan and Map, on or before December 31st, 2026, in order to develop a plan to help develop energy storage assets and flexible load solutions and address repeated issues. Onto page 2. With the electric grid, Vermont's distribution and transmission utilities shall develop and submit a report, including a map, establishing where storage assets and flexible load management initiatives and how much of each solution have the greatest potential to mitigate, resolve, or forestall distribution, grid and transmission, grid reliability, affordability, community resiliency, and sustainability issues. That is a very long sentence. So I just want to flag that. Also, it starts by asking the distribution and transmission utilities to do this, which I do think makes sense. At the end, though, it switches to DPS being in charge of the report. So that may make sense, but you may want to consider who you actually want to task to do this work as I continue to describe it. So on line 6, this report shall utilize all relevant utility, state, and regional system reliability data and projected load growth and community health indicator data to identify where public and private fund investments will deliver the greatest value. This report and map shall be used as a guide for where to best site energy storage facilities and direct flexible load initiatives, and will estimate the type and amount of each energy solution. The report shall also provide a reasonable cost-benefit analysis that presents a general quantification of the value of return on the dollars invested in energy storage assets and flexible load management initiatives, including benefits of responsible investments and associated returns, financial and non-financial, to ratepayers from the provision of services, including energy price arbitrage, capacity, ancillary services, and transmission and distribution asset deferral or substitution. Direct long-term investment returns to ratepayers and deploy energy storage systems and leverage flexible load management capabilities. Onto page 3. Improve the ability to integrate renewable resources at the local, state, and regional level. Improve reliability and power quality. Estimate the effect on retail electric rates over the life of a given energy storage system compared to the effect on retail electric rates using a non-energy storage system alternative over the life of a non-energy storage system alternative. Identify utility service territories or communities or buildings where adding energy storage assets would provide a major enhanced reliability benefit, including helping to keep a hospital, community center, warming shelter, emergency response facility, or other key building or buildings online during an outage. Identify areas with significant existing grid constraints for electrification or distribution generation. Estimate reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and estimate economic development benefits. The department shall collaborate as necessary in the development of the plan with the efficiency utilities, Vermont Electric Power Company, regional planning commissions, and energy and environmental organizations, and shall integrate the report and map findings into existing required energy plans onto page 4 and present them to the Climate Council for inclusion in the Climate Action Plan. The department may require stakeholders to sign confidentiality agreements to address any confidential and proprietary information. However, the map shall be made available to relevant stakeholders involved in energy storage and flexible load management. The department shall submit the report and the map to the Public Utility Commission, and to the degree that energy security allows, the General Assembly, identifying those areas with energy storage assets and flexible load management initiatives, including how much of each type of resource could deliver the greatest reliability, affordability, community resiliency, and sustainability value, including the associated quantitative and qualitative benefits with different investment and employment scenarios. The plan shall be updated biennially. Future revisions of the plan shall include review of the Municipal Energy Resilience Program assessment, Belco's long-range transmission plan, the environmental justice mapping tool, distribution utility integrated resource plans, and efficiency utility demand response plans, and other relevant data. The Clean Energy Development Board shall use the Energy Resiliency Plan as a guide to award grants for the development of energy storage facilities in the identified locations. On page 5, this is a new section, section 2. It's amending section 8015, which is the Clean Energy Development Fund. And it's adding new language that says the board, the Clean Energy Development Board, the board shall utilize the report that I just described under section 8017. And then the report shall this will take effect on passage. So I just wanted to flag that the beginning of section 1 starts by giving a directive to the utilities, but then also has the department. And so I think you maybe just want to make sure that that's consistent. I do think having the department work on this and maybe facilitate that makes sense, but I feel like there's a slight disconnect. So you give the initial directive to them, but then the department takes over.
Okay. And we heard, just because our plan changed some, we actually heard yesterday from Belco on this bill. And then Green Mountain Power is invited for next week. And then I think we'll have committee discussion about whether this bill is, whether we're going to spend any more time on it. So do folks have questions for Ellen? Yeah.
Line 6 on page 5, there is created the Clean Energy Development Board, which shall consist of 7 persons appointed in accordance with subdivision 4 of this subsection. We don't have subdivision 4 here.
Right. So this is an existing statute.
Okay.
But you are raising an interesting point. So there's a sunset on the board currently. I believe the board, so the Government Operations Committee last year, I believe, actually has decided to sunset the board and just turn over their responsibilities to the department. So this might need to be updated slightly, but yes, when you see the 3 stars, that is an ellipses. That means the statute is elsewhere. It's not being changed.
I think, yeah, just one second. The Clean Energy Development Board, I just keep notes sometimes as we're going through of something that we know nothing about. And the Clean Energy Development Fund and Board is nothing that our committee's taken any testimony on. I did look it up enough to see that they are sunsetting in 2027 and all of their work and responsibility is moving over to DPS. But if folks are interested, I'd still like to have them in and just hear who they are and what they do. Rev Southworth?
Yeah, just if the board's sunsetting, the next sentence down on line 10 is it refers to the board.
Yep.
So
I'll fix it.
okay.
This is a rerun from last year.
Okay.
So I did
Thanks.
update it.
And I'd hold off until.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Should you
Don't dive right in.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the statute as introduced or the bill as introduced? Okie dokie. All right, thanks, Ellen.
So it's unlikely we're gonna be here by 11 o'clock. Is that accurate?
That is probably accurate. I was gonna say, let's look ahead at the day. I see where you're going with
How it
that.
went yesterday and what's on the agenda today.
Yeah, Ellen, do you
Jack booked me for 1 also.
for S50?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably I was gonna try to break at 9:20, so let's wait and do it at 1. So that we're not trying to rush through S50, because we're taking a lot more testimony on S50 next week and stuff, and I want to make sure we have time for the walkthrough. Although I see where you're going, Brett Marlowe, but
Well, I don't want Ellen sitting here waiting for us.
Oh, no.
we'll be fine by 1. Yeah.
I am well aware. I am always keeping track of where you all are.
Yeah.
So what?
Maybe I'll eat my words. I feel relatively confident that we'll all be back here at 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not 11.
I was gonna say 1 is safer than 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do. Oh, wait a second.
S50 is
Shoot.
only 4 pages also.
All right, let's go. S50. Do you have time?
Right now.
Oh, I don't have it, but
Okay.
if somebody has it, I'll walk you through it.
Okay.
Sure.
It should be on your committee page. So
It is.
if you want to do a digital version as well.
No, I think we can all just find it. Let's see how far we get. We've got 8 minutes minus the minutes I just did.
Sure. So S50 came over to you from the Senate. It's an act relating to increasing the size of solar net metering projects that qualify for expedited registration. So I think you'll hear more testimony from the regulators, but when you're constructing an energy generation facility in Vermont, you have to go through the process under Section 248 of Title 30. But currently, there is an expedited process called registration for the smallest solar systems, and then some other systems that qualify for it. And so currently, that is up to solar generation systems of 15 kilowatts. So on the first change is under subdivision F. And so this subdivision F applies to an application for a net metering system with a capacity that is greater than, and it's changing 15 kilowatts to 25 kilowatts. And then the net metering, so that we're in the net metering statute right now. The net metering statute has changed 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years. And so there originally was a provision that said directed the PUC to adopt this expedited registration process. It's no longer in the statute because they already did. But just to be clear, the Senate did add at the bottom of that subdivision G, which specifically does direct them to say the rules shall establish an expedited registration procedure for net metering systems 25 kilowatts or less in size. So they already have that procedure for the 15 kilowatt and less. It just hasn't been in the statute, but this is making sure that it remains that they have this procedure, and again, making it 25 kilowatts or less.
So Ellen, upshot is that there's already an expedited, simplified registration process.
Yep.
Under Section 248 for 15 or under.
Yep.
This is bumping that up to 25 or under and putting it in statute.
Yes.
Okay.
Section 2 is a rulemaking provision related to this. So the Public Utility Commission shall update its rule 5.100 to allow ground-mounted photovoltaic net metering systems of 25 kilowatts or less to qualify for expedited registration. It is the intent of the General Assembly that the Commission shall allow systems of 25 kilowatts or less to use the expedited registration system before the rules are updated. This is a bit redundant because bless you. When you update a statute, it always controls over the rule. However, there was concern they wanted it to be very clear that even if it takes the rulemaking a little while to get done, until then the 25 or less can use this system. So then, oh,
Quick question. It specifically says ground mounted. Are they excluding rooftop systems?
so these are specific, this change is specific to to ground mounted systems. For rooftop systems, I believe they get expedited for up to they have a different number
Already
already.
Oh, okay.
So yes, this is specific to ground mounted. I'm sorry, yes, we're talking about ground mounted systems. So the one in your yard.
Yeah, okay.
And
On an existing roof.
No, I'm not talking about roof. I'm talking about
No,
ground.
but with your exception of
Yes,
a
you-
roof mounted was, the point was that the system had to be mounted on an existing roof. They couldn't build a parking canopy. A canopy on a roof over a parking deck is not included in the roof mount, I believe.
well, you know what we can do,
You
and
should
we don't,
hear about
we don't
that.
have time
I
now.
don't remember. Honestly.
We don't have time now, but Ellen, maybe we could get you booked to just walk us through the net metering statute at some point.
Okay. Sure.
Maybe next week,
Sure.
if we think that would be helpful.
Yes, you'll be learning lots about net metering if and when you work on this, the rest of this bill. So that was what the Senate Natural Resources Committee did, sections 1 and 2. There were then 2 floor amendments, from Senator Perchlik. And so sections 3 and 4 are from him. And I don't believe they took any testimony on this, but obviously he has pursued, I think, he's pursued section 4 in prior sessions. So there have been some, but section 3 is actually an amendment to the zoning statutes. And it's about requiring solar systems to comply with setbacks. So notwithstanding any contrary provision of 2291A, that's the ordinance authority, or 4413, which is prohibitions on certain types of zoning ordinances, or chapter 5 or chapter 89, in a municipality that has adopted a bylaw to establish setback requirements for development, those requirements shall apply to a net metering system that has 25 kilowatts or less in size, that has been registered with the Public Utility Commission as part of expedited review under 30 VSA section 248. Setback requirements under this subdivision shall not be more restrictive than requirements applied to other development in the municipality under this chapter. So there is a little bit of an issue here. I drafted this as a floor amendment. I drafted it quickly. There is already there's a part of 248 that says solar systems above 15 kilowatts already have to comply with setbacks. So that should also be probably amended depending on what you decide to work on here. Currently, the smallest system, the 15 kilowatt systems, do not have to comply with the requirement. So that was why he wanted to add it, so that the small systems do have to comply with the setback requirement. They can't be built up right against the road if the municipality has adopted general setback requirements for other types of structures. This is not giving the municipality authority to adopt specific setback requirements for solar. And then section 4 is a different topic entirely, but still on net metering. So at the end, so we're talking about net metering systems. They have to have the rules for net metering systems, and the rules have to allow a customer to change their decision one time to retain or transfer the attributes of a new or existing system if the system is 25 kilowatts or less in size. When you become a net metering customer, when you have a system built, you have to decide at the time it is constructed whether or not you want to retain the RECs for yourself or if you want to turn them over to your utility. This decision has a consequence, and it changes how much you get paid for your net metering system. Currently, you are not allowed to change your mind after you do your initial filing. And so this would allow someone to change their mind one time.
Ellen, is that new at all? I don't remember doing that. It was probably some piece of paperwork that I signed that I didn't understand 10 years ago or something.
It is not new, no.
Okay, all right. Well,
Well, in most cases, if you get a developer that you install, your
the developer gets the
the
RECs?
developer has
No,
a
no.
contract with you.
I'm sure I signed many contracts. I know.
Right, isn't that so?
Utility.
I don't know that to be true. I know that you get more money if you give them to your utility, and some people don't understand that. And
Maybe that's.
then if you don't decide that, then you're like, hey, I thought I was going to get more money.
They actually get a charge.
Okay,
So
So maybe that's what
So-
it says with the developer, that it goes to the utility.
all right, so we should go. We'll talk later about next week. Ellen, thank you so much. So we're not back in committee
I
for
love that.
1.
Oh, we don't
Uh,
do 11?
Well, we just did 11.
Thank you.
Thanks to Rep Morrow.
thank you.
We are, and Ellen, you're not coming back this afternoon. I was very confused. I was looking at something incorrect. So we're back at 1. You're off the hook. And we've got testimony lined up next week on this bill from League of Cities and Town to learn more about the siting thing. Peter Sterling's coming in this afternoon, renewable